facts. But before we get there, you need to hear what happened on the second half of day 3 in the state of Florida versus Ashley Benefield, the Black Swan Murder. Welcome back. I'm Rebecca. This is Crafting Crime Daily, and I am currently recapping the trial of the Black Swan Murder, Ashley Benefield. This is in Bradenton, Florida, on the west coast of Florida, a little bit above Tampa. Yeah, a little town called Bradenton. So, where I left off yesterday on day 3 was the jury was sent for lunch. So when we come back from lunch, before the jury comes into the courtroom, the defense and the state are arguing, because what happened before lunch was there was a long sidebar, so the judge sent the jury for a lunch. So here's what the sidebar had to do with, and they continued arguing it after lunch, is that the defense wanted to get in through this cell phone analyst witness that some internet searches that had been done by Ashley Benefield on her phone about how to co-parent with an abusive husband or abusive parent. And the issue was, see, they're claiming self-defense. Now, it's not, there's no burden on the state to prove self-defense. All they have to prove is a prima facie case of second-degree murder. Did Ashley Benefield commit murder? Yes, she did. She murdered her husband. Now, was it homicide? Was it second-degree murder? Well, that's up for a jury to decide. And the way they have to prove that is by saying that the murder was committed with a depraved heart. Now, how do you prove a depraved heart? That she harbored some hatred toward him, some ill will, spite. I think we're going into that third category, spite. But they have no duty to present any evidence of self-defense. That, once they've proved their case, that this, happened with a depraved heart, that they put that in front of the jury, then the burden shifts to the defense to prove their case of self-defense. And they were trying to argue that in order for her to have a claim for self-defense, there has to be some, she had to have reacted to some overt act by the victim. What was the act? We don't know, except the excited utterance of her when her neighbor opened the door and she said, "He attacked me and I shot him." That's it. That's it. So in the end, the judge said no. The internet searches are not coming in, because what is the relevance of these searches? Yeah. Anyway, so the next person on the stand is the medical examiner. And this is not going to be a long show today, guys, because I'm not doing anything from today, day 4. And I'll tell you why. We'll get to that. So this medical examiner's got 25 years experience. He is the chief medical examiner, but he runs the office, but he also does autopsies. And he did the autopsy the following morning of Doug Benefield. Doug Benefield was killed on the 27th, the evening of the 27th. On the morning of the 28th, this doctor did an autopsy. He measured him. He was 5'9" and weighed 169 pounds. So not a large man, but probably larger than Ashley Benefield. He was a good-looking man. Have I mentioned that yet? This man he's gorgeous. He does not look his age. He really didn't. So then they put into evidence a group of photos. And Ashley would not look at these photos. And you could tell she was kind of tearing up, oh, woe is me. Here come the tears. I'm trying to describe the look on her face. It was just, I don't know, like she wanted to be anywhere but there, anywhere but where she was. So he described the injuries that Doug Benefield had, one to the right side of the chest, one to the right shoulder, and one to his leg. So he couldn't tell which injury occurred in what order. We don't know. So he first described the chest injury, and he talked about it entering the right side of the chest over this area. It hit the fifth rib, so down around in here. Then it hit the right lung, traveled in a downward position to the left lung, and then through the vertebral body to the left lung, and then lodged in the left side of his back. So they had to actually roll him over at autopsy and basically carve the bullet projectile out of him. Then he said it was angled through the body from front to back this way. So he would have had to have been shot like this angle and kind of going down a little bit. Anyway, then he talked about the right shoulder. He said that was just a surface wound, kind of an abrasion. So no bullet projectile involved with that one. And then the leg, he was shot in the back of the leg, in the calf area. He said it went through the calf and exited the right lower side of the knee. So almost, he said it was right to left, back to front. So she was behind him when that shot went off. So the state's theory is that she shot him. She was at an angle towards him. She shoots him here. He turns to run away because this medical examiner said it would not have killed him instantly, that gunshot wound to the chest. He turns to run away, and she fires again. She fires 4 times at him, 4 times. So that is the theory really that makes the most sense. And I haven't heard that the defense has anything to counter that. He did not find any evidence of stippling, meaning there was no, if it was close range, you would see other kinds of injuries from the gunpowder and the bullet fragments and stuff. But so this had to be, she had to have been at least 3 feet away from him. So then he gets off the stand and he goes in front of the jury and he demonstrates the whole right to left thing. And I'll play that video for you.
Thank you. If you're more comfortable, you can see your, yes, sorry.
Hard to see. Mr. Taylor, if you need to reposition so you can see, please feel free to do so.
So on me, the entrance was here.
If it would help, I could put my finger there.
Okay. And the exit here.
So here to here.
Yes.
And so that's, you said slightly up or up.
It's upward from the right toward the left and from back to front. Yes, largely all 3 of those components.
Thank you. Well, you know what, Dr. Vega, while you're down here, just for clarification, would you show me again the chest wound? Just because I think you're easier to see now that I made you get off the stand.
Entrance. Lodged bullet.
Would you just spin one time? Just turn so they can see. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Vega. I appreciate that.
Mr. Taylor, were you able to see both of those demonstrations?
Yes, Judge White, thank you.
Dr. Vega, was there any?
So when he talked about the gunshot wound, he said there would have been, it would not have been immediately deadly. In other words, he wouldn't have died instantly, but he would have died quickly because it caused bleeding inside both lungs. And once you cause bleeding into the lungs are, just are going to fill up with blood. And he said it's a rapid bleed. The lungs are very vascular. It is a very rapid bleed. So his cause of death was gunshot wound due to the chest from bleeding into the lungs. And the manner of death was homicide. Now, he did explain to the jury that's a medical term. It's by no means a legal term, but just means that he died at the hands of another person. And these, by the way, were hollow point bullets. And I did not know this. I should know everything about guns at this point, right? I don't. Hollow points apparently are designed so that when the projectile goes into something, it doesn't exit. It'll break up before it exits. Thereby, it won't injure another person. Anyway, so yeah, that's it. Then the next person on the stand was Daniel Housemore. He was with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and he is a firearms analyst. So he was given the firearm. He showed the jury what this firearm looked like, and how you have to prepare it in order to fire it. So she must have, that weapon had to have been loaded. Like, did she really have time to go retrieve a weapon and load it? So it had to have already been loaded. And she would have had to slide the thing back to get the safety, because it says it's got 3 different safeties, and he demonstrated all that. And yeah. So he tested the weapon. There was nothing wrong with the weapon. She can't say accidental discharge. So that's not even a defense here. The weapon was functioning fine. The projectiles that came out of Doug's body matched the ones that came out of the weapon. And he also tested a t-shirt, which I'm assuming was the t-shirt Doug Benefield was wearing at the time that he was shot. He did not find any gunshot residue on there. And he talked about 3, 4, 5 different reasons that could be. And one of those reasons was that she was at some distance away from him. Thus, the gunpowder just didn't get on his t-shirt. Another reason could be mishandling of the evidence or contaminated by blood. There's other, so we can't really assume anything by that. So following that, the state rests their case. Now, I knew they only had a couple more witnesses, so they rest their case. And basically, like I said, all they had to prove was that she had a depraved heart. So the defense moved for the judgment of acquittal. We hear this at the end of every state presentation. We hear the defense ask for judgment of acquittal. You kind of have to do this even if you think you have no shot, because you usually don't have any shot at winning this motion, but you need to do it to preserve your appellate rights. So Mr. Taylor, I finally learned his name. The defense attorney's name is Mr. Taylor. He gets up and he talks about how there's absolutely no evidence that she had a depraved heart. And I'm thinking, excuse me? That maybe we didn't see any evidence of ill will or hatred, but he said, what you saw was not hatred, it was fear. Well, the state argued, we don't have to show hatred or ill will. We can also show spite. And she was doing this to spite him. There was multiple evidence of statements that she made where she said she would take matters into her own hands. You asshole. And things like that. She was tired of waiting. She wanted to get on with her own life. She was going to do things her way. Yeah. So the judge denied the judgment of acquittal. No, sorry. There's enough evidence here. So then what he did was he had a little, the day wasn't over. And he says, well, I have a few more minutes. Let me just let the defendant know what I can't say this word, colloquy will be about her testifying, so she can prepare to answer those questions, should she, once we get to that. So he starts to run through it, and Mr. Taylor, the defense attorney, says, I'm a little offended by this. I think this invades my attorney-client privilege. And the judge is like, I'm sorry, I've read this in all cases. I put this on the record. And he says, I'm just telling her. She doesn't have to answer me. I'm just telling her what the colloquy is going to be when we get there in 1 or 2 days. Because the defense said that they had probably 2 days worth of witnesses. I expect they're going to put on a domestic violence expert, and I don't know if she's going to testify or not. It seemed to me like he was representing, he had a lot of witnesses that were going to testify. I don't know. We'll see. So that's it for the day, guys. That's where we left at the end of the day yesterday. The judge was actually trying to maneuver it so that they could take Friday off, the jurors, and that maybe the attorneys could come back and they could just work on jury instructions. They needed to have a Richardson hearing, and there was a witness that was not cooperating because she wasn't under a subpoena, and she happens to be a lawyer. The defense, Mr. Taylor, wants to call Ashley Benefield's family law lawyer. He wants to put her on the stand to say that hearing was not about the psychological report, that was not what that hearing was for on the Wednesday after the murder. That hearing was to be heard. It was just the injunction that was going to be heard. Basically to rebut Doug Benefield's attorney, who said, no, that report was coming out on Wednesday. So, because the defense attorney didn't put her under a subpoena and the state hadn't subpoenaed her and they don't want her to testify, she said, no, I'm not available on Monday, because they wanted her to come back Monday. She's like, no, it's today, it's tomorrow, tomorrow, or nothing. I that's it. I can't do this. So that's what they're doing today. She will appear on the stand today, and the defense he said he has a whole slate of witnesses that are going to testify today and Monday as well. And I believe there probably are some jurors who are not available next week. They said that their availability was questionable after the end of the month. And I think Wednesday is the end of the month. Yay. And my event starts August 1st. Yes, The Great Escape. It's a diamond painting event. And if you were interested in that, want the details, show up on my live Sunday and I'll tell you all about it. I'll be live Sunday at 11 a.m. So Monday morning, I will recap what occurred today. And I want y'all to have a nice weekend. Go watch the Olympic ceremony opening. The teams are going to be going over. There's I don't know, tons of boats that are going to be going down the Seine River with athletes in them. And I just think that's the coolest thing. So I want to see it. Anyway, I wish I was in Paris. Yeah. My sister was born in France. Well, I lived in France for quite a bit of time. I'm getting way far afield of this crime. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'll see you on Sunday, and take care. Bye.